Yes, so the instructions are here. So listen to one group member read aloud the text below. And yeah, so I'll be reading it out and then we can together discuss the following questions. And this is basically a way that will make you all to work together as a team and solve the case study. Or even if you're an individual, you could ask these questions from yourself and understand how to break down a case study regarding the topics that you have chosen for the APIC. So let me start off by reading out the text. So today Zara and Anwa are talking about all the positive things that their businesses will bring into their lives. So Anwar says running a business isn't just about making money. I feel that it is really going to help me be happier and confident and learn many new things. It would be great if I could help other people benefit from my business as well. So the response from Sarah is that there are certainly ways to do that. So for example, when your business grows and you hire people, you help them by giving them a job and salary. So Anwar's response to that is that's true. In what other ways could we help make things better around us through our businesses? So now I want all of you all to participate and help me out in discussing the following questions that they think that would be beneficial for them and for the society when they start a business. So let me start off with the discussion. So how will Anwar benefit from opening a business? Now, this could be a key question that could be asked when it comes to a case study so that you too can break down the cases and think in the boots of a person who does a real business. So can anybody like give me some understanding on how will Anwar benefit from opening a business after you're reading the first text that is up, the conversation that is up about the questions that they have mentioned? So any volunteers to give me an answer, or you can just type it in the chat box as well. I'll give you all a few seconds.
Sir, basically, a business is a source of earning profit. For profit, every person start business to earn a profit for profit motive.
Yes, exactly, Zoib. So when it comes to many businesses, except for the not-for-profit businesses, the main motive is to earn a profit and earn a return for their investment. So thank you, Zoe, for that. Um,
Thank you, sir.
so what else he has mentioned is that even Zara has mentioned that by creating a business or opening a business, there will be a contribution to the economy with many more jobs being created and people getting employed. And by that, there's a larger contribution to the overall economy, to the GDP of a country and so on. Yeah, so we'll move on to the next question. So what does Anwar hope his business can achieve for others? So this aligns with what I just mentioned in the question above, uh, the question before. So maybe you can, somebody can share something regarding that, what Anwar would hope to achieve through the business for others, not only for himself or his business, but to the society as a whole. So could somebody help me out in breaking that down?
Sir, one thing is that he will be creating job opportunities for others.
Yes, exactly, Zoib. So just as I mentioned before, by creating business, he wants to uplift the society's standard of living and create jobs and employment and make sure that the people around him are also happy and he gives back to the society. That's what the basis of a responsible business is. So we talk about many other things, but the basic steps that once you open up a business, what you can do is create a large impact on society and mainly to the people close to you and your employees once you open up a business. So moving on to the next question that they have mentioned, according to Zara, in what way can a business help people? So I think that once again comes back to the point that Zoe had mentioned. It's basically giving out jobs to people. But if we think in a larger context, if the business develops into a large scale multinational corporation, we could expect that it could give back to society in various ways, such as maybe investing in renewable energies and giving charities and creating a huge impact, making scholarships for people. So that is one way that I think businesses can help people in a large scale. So we have another exercise set up for us to break this down a bit more. So responsibilities of a business. As an entrepreneur, and I hope all of you all will be future entrepreneurs and you're aspiring to be so. So every action you take has an impact on the society that you are operating in. Therefore, it is important to think about how your business can create benefits for the society and avoid doing harm. Remember, there are even some businesses called social enterprises that make social impact a part of their business model. In this exercise, you will discuss what kind of responsibilities you have as a business owner and to whom. So we'll read the description on what a stakeholder is in the text box below. So most of you might be knowing this. If you're coming from a business background, you definitely know this. So a stakeholder is someone who has an interest in your business and who can affect or be affected by the business. So we have also parts of internal stakeholders and external stakeholders as well. So when we break them down according to the next paragraph, your business has many different types of stakeholders. So the typical stakeholders or the internal stakeholders could be the employees because they are directly working under you and they depend on you for their salaries and wages. And the suppliers, they too depend on you to make sure that their business survives. And the partners or the investors, they also heavily depend on you to give them their respective return that you have promised them or that you expect to earn. And moving on from more of an external stakeholder view, you could take in unions, worker unions especially. They make sure that the employees are all in very happy and healthy conditions and they respect the workers' rights. And the local community or society as large is one of the biggest external stakeholders that a business has. So the local community or society as large benefits mainly from various charities, various projects, various CSR initiatives that they take on. And yeah, that's about the stakeholders that are in a business. So let's move on to the next graph that they have mentioned here by ILO, International Labour Organization, if you wanted to know what the acronyms were. So the stakeholders and examples of responsibility are mentioned here. So the responsibilities from a business perspective to our stakeholders as employees is to provide a safe working environment. A safe working environment may be physically, mentally, and even financially. We need to make sure our work employees and workers are safe in the long run, and we can retain them and have the best employees among us to make sure that they are happy and we align with all the rules and regulations that have been set by a certain country or a state. And moving on to the stakeholders such as business partners, respect terms agreed on with supplier. So that could be mainly investors or even other partners that you have, your co-partners in your business. You have to agree on terms and you have to respect them. Especially this comes when it's related mainly with the financial side of things and how you will contribute to the business if you are a business partner. And now we'll move on to how the customers and main responsibility of business towards them. So providing good quality products, treating everyone equally and not discriminating would be the main responsibilities of a business towards their customers. Because we all know at the end of the day, the customer is king and we have to make sure that our customers are retained and they stay with us for the long run. So the responsibility of a business towards the society and local community is also extremely necessary because those community and this local community and society is our main customers in the long run, and even our closest customers could be them if you're talking in a MSME level scale. So benefits to society by generating jobs and abiding the law, mainly when it comes to various things such as waste management laws and mainly employee laws, so on, labor laws maybe. So we have to make sure that the businesses are responsible for those and they handle them well. So the environment, it the environment is very essential for any business, and businesses have a huge responsibility towards the environment to make sure that they do not damage the environment and cause any harm. And in order to make sure of that, they have to minimize their waste and follow sustainable conditions and working conditions, sustainable business practices to make sure that the environment around them is safe. So let's move on to our next point.
Register as manager or taxpayer.
Yes.
So fill all this span, whatever, it's very basic. Create for this one.
Sorry, Suhana, you are mentioning something. Okay, maybe we can move on. Okay, so let's list all the responsibilities that you can think of that a business of your choice has to each stakeholder group on a separate group paper. So I doubt we have a paper with all of us have a paper with us right now. And you can think of Anwar or Zara's business if you want. So that's just a stepping stone if you want to manage that. But I'd rather suggest that we stick with our graph, and maybe some of you all can suggest some responsibilities other than the ones I mentioned and other than what's provided here in the graph towards by a business, towards their employees, towards their partners, towards the customers, towards the society and the local community, and even the environment. So could somebody maybe share one or two responsibilities of a business in either of the stakeholders that you prefer? I'll open it up for around 30 seconds for you all. I hope you all understood what I was mentioning and what I asked from you all. So if you have any idea regarding how or what the responsibilities of a business towards a stakeholder is, and if you can give me an example of a responsibility, you could mention it here, or you could just drop it in the chat box if you're feeling shy to speak up. But it would be great if you could unmute yourself and speak.
Sir, taking the first point, for employees, all the incentives must be provided to them.
Yes, exactly. That's a great responsibility from the business perspective towards the employees, Zoib. So even I agree that employees and their incentives are very much aligned, and you have to share your incentives, their salaries, or the other benefits that they have promised them. And they should, the businesses rather, should focus and make sure that the employees are happy in the long run, because it's not easy to find labor these days. And we all know that there's a great resignation going on globally. So it is essential to make sure that they are happy in their workplace, and we provide, as a business, we provide a safe working environment for them. So does anybody else want to maybe give us one more example of a responsibility from a business towards any stakeholder that you see here, or any stakeholder that you think matches with our goal here? Okay, I think I'll go ahead with one since so for the environment, what we could think of is organizing, and this could be aligned to both the society and the environment from a perspective of a business responsibility towards those both entities. So let's say a business, if it's a large scale or a medium scale business, we could maybe align the community and organize an environment or a beach cleanup program or something like that in that scale to make sure our environment is clean and it benefits the society both and the business in the in a good PR sense, making sure that we get two of our responsibilities done in one executed task. So now let's move on to our third point. So together discuss the questions below and write down or share your answers right here. Okay, on a group paper. So you believe you have a responsibility as a business owner to make sure that you operate your business responsibly. So I would invite you all also to share something regarding this if you have any ideas, and then we could maybe elaborate on that. So any takers, Sahan, Suhana, Dishani, or Shanika, Vibhav? Okay, maybe everyone's feeling a bit shy. That's fine. So let me just answer that question for you all.
Sir, if we are having a good business qualities and we
Yes.
are following and implementing in our life, then we can realize our responsibility as a business owner also.
Yes, that's a great point to highlight, Zoe. It's actually if you, yeah, when you have a good policy in life, you automatically bring it to the table when you come and start a business. So as a business owner, just as Zoe mentioned, having good responsibility from your younger age and up to when you grow up and up to when you start a business, that makes you operate a business responsibly. So you could anyway be a very responsible citizen and be a good business person and manage an excellent business that way. And that brings a lot to the table. It could boost up your sales, it could boost up your PR, and even it could help you in getting more sales and getting the faith of the community who is there with you. So let's move on to the next point now. So why is it important for you to think about the responsibilities of your business? So when it comes to the responsibilities of your business, we all know that society nowadays is very much aligned with sustainability and businesses. So they depend and they actually think that any business that functions has a good responsibility and is a very responsible entity when it comes to making sure that sustainability and all their responsibilities towards their stakeholders are met. People and the society expect this. So it is very important that businesses be responsible and be responsible especially towards their stakeholders who will be directly or indirectly benefiting from them or be let's say benefiting or not benefiting from them. So it is very important that businesses follow and are responsible, follow rules and regulations and are responsible towards all their stakeholders. So let's move on now to the third point. How can being a responsible business owner contribute to making your business more successful? So when it comes to this, it's about what I mentioned a few minutes ago, or a few points ago rather. If you're, yes, go ahead, Zoe.
Sir, if you, as a business owner, if you are committed with your employees and customers, that then I think that you can make your business more successful.
Yes, exactly, Zoe. So since both the employees and customers are your internal stakeholders or your very close stakeholders, you could say, they are pretty much aligned with your business. They need to be very much aligned and very up to date and engaging with your business. Because the employees will make sure that your business is going and up and running all the time and it's on track. But your customers will be helping the employees and they will be purchasing the goods, and in turn, they will be funding the process and the next operations of the business for the next months to come. And it will make sure that the business will be long lasting and sustainable. And it will also make sure that the employees are happy. And it's basically like a cycle. So just as you mentioned, the internal or the close stakeholders are very important when it comes to maintaining responsible businesses. So yes, moving back to the third point, how can being a responsible business owner contribute to making your business more successful? We could go back to the points where we mentioned that being in a business and keeping being very responsible towards all your stakeholders helps you out in a lot of ways and it makes your business successful. Mainly, once again, we could align that your society and your close peers could be your next customers or are your main customers right now. So in that business cycle itself, or the cycle of how the business functions, we could make sure that if we are a responsible business and if we follow rules, if we be responsible towards our stakeholders, the business cycle will continue and we will always be in business. So let's move on to exercise number 2. So this is more about social responsibility, CSR. You might have heard about it before. So social responsibility means considering the people inside and outside of your business. In this activity, you will discuss how a business can be socially responsible. Okay, so we'll move on to the first exercise. Together, read the examples in the word cloud below of how you can be socially responsible as an entrepreneur And can you think of more examples to be socially responsible? You can share it with the group here, with our small community that we have here right now. So let's dive right into the activity. So there are a few examples of how a business could be socially responsible mentioned here. So the first cloud mentions that supporting the community could make or could be make a business that is socially responsible. And the second cloud mentions that helping or protecting vulnerable members of society is also a sign or a show that a business is socially responsible. And providing good working conditions to your employees, that is once again a good social responsibility of a business. And respecting fundamental human rights, these are very critical points these days, and even ILO stands for those rights mainly. So this is another point we could mention as a being so business that is very socially responsible. And treating people equally, no matter their gender, skin color, religion, etc. So these are all various types of social responsibilities that a business and an entrepreneur has to follow in their journey of creating a socially responsible business. And support development of your staff. So this could be helping your staff upskill and develop their self personally to make sure that they get promoted and that they have higher opportunities going forward. And providing a safe and healthy working environment is once again extremely necessary when it comes to making sure that your business or any entrepreneur's business is socially responsible. So if you have any ideas or any more options that you could list down, maybe we could share them right now. I'll give you a few seconds to think on that, and you could raise your hand, or you could share it in the chat box, or just speak out. Okay, let's have about 10 seconds more to think on it. Okay. So do we
We
have
can sir
anybody?
provide,
Yeah.
we can provide trainings to our employees
Yes, that's a great point as well. So
to enhance
providing
their skills.
yes, exactly. So supporting the development of your staff could very much be aligned with this by providing them various skills and various training programs to make sure that they do not stay stuck in one place, and rather they can improve and they could move up the ladder, or the corporate ladder if you would like to mention that, and become very successful. And maybe they could be an entrepreneur just like you someday, or a business person just like you someday. So let's check the chat. We have Suana Hamid mentioning, always be mindful of all your actions. That's very much true, Suhana. You have, as a business or an entrepreneur who is responsible, you have to always be mindful of all your actions and make sure that nobody is being discriminated or harmed by them, especially the environment and the people and the society all around you. So let's break down the points that they have mentioned here as well. So supporting the community could be broken down as a social responsibility. Yes. And yes, Suhana, yes, I could agree with that, related to environmental and social impacts too. Exactly. So supporting the community, it aligns with social responsibility in various ways. So you could maybe organize a project to support your community. Let's say there was some disaster, and you will be the person, or your business will be the stepping stone or the foundation for rebuilding that community, or helping them out with something, let's say building up another school shelter or a school classroom up to a standard that's extremely good, that will help the community and especially the future generation of that community to develop. And that shows that you will be a extremely socially responsible business and an entrepreneur as well. So helping and protecting vulnerable members of society is also a key point when it comes to social responsibility. So Helping and protecting vulnerable members, we could think of people who are elderly or sick with various diseases right now, as we mainly know that health is a very important factor in the world right now. And also protecting, when it comes to protecting vulnerable members, it could be differently abled people. So we need to make sure that they too are being treated well. So a little bit of examples that you could align with that, if you're having a small business, could be to have wheelchair access to many of your business places or wheelchair parking, and maybe some of your staff members could help them out if they're coming to your business. It could maybe be a service or even a good selling business. You could have one of your staff members to help them out who is trained on that aspect specifically, so that you will also retain your customers and it will show that you are a socially responsible business and an entrepreneur. Okay, let's move on to the third cloud. So provide good working conditions to your employees. So this is extremely necessary when it comes to retaining your employees and making sure that they are happy and they are satisfied with what you provide them with. So a good working environment could be a place where everybody is treated equally, just as what's mentioned in the cloud below the cloud that we are currently taking a look at, making sure that everybody is treated equally and they have an open space and maybe an open door policy if you're the businessman or the key entrepreneur of that business, to make sure that your employees' words are heard and their cries of help are heard, especially to make sure that they are aligned with your business and they are aware that you will always be there for them, and it's always a safe working environment for them to come and perform in. So let's move on to the next cloud. Respecting fundamental human rights. So fundamental human rights are very important in the society nowadays, and society is developing those and they're uplifting them mainly to make sure that everybody's rights are preserved. So this could be aligned with all your stakeholders, making sure as a socially responsible business that you respect every stakeholder's fundamental rights. This could be your stakeholders, such as your partners, maybe. You could make sure that the fundamental rights and what you have set out in your partner agreement is followed. If it comes to your suppliers, it could be that you will, if you stick to your word and if you have an agreement, making sure that you will provide your goods or services on a certain date, that those are being followed and respected. And even for your employees, respecting their fundamental rights is extremely essential. So this is mainly aligned with the fourth cloud or the fourth text that we have here. So treating people equally and no matter their gender, skin color, religion, etc. So this is also extremely aligned with social responsibility. We know that there is a huge uprising against discrimination, and that is extremely essential in a progressive society and in the whole world, to make sure that everybody is treated equally. It doesn't matter what their gender, religion, skin color, or even how they speak, or which country or nation or which region they are from. We should always treat them equally as all people of the world. So this makes you a socially responsible business by if you can promote diversity and make sure that your staff or your employees are very diverse and you allow equal opportunities to everyone, and make sure that they develop into good employees and to maybe someday be entrepreneurs as well. So moving on to the next cloud, support development of your staff. So Zohib aligned this very nicely with mentioning that we could give them various training programs and skill up skill up programs to make sure that they develop and they could move up the corporate ladder, and they could very well someday be an entrepreneur and create a business that you will need to come and get a product from. So if you support the development of your staff, you are creating another business within your staff. Or you could say that you're creating a huge social responsibility and building up the next generation of entrepreneurs or the next biggest business. So supporting the development of your staff is critical and extremely essential to be a very socially responsible business. And providing a safe and healthy working environment is also extremely aligned with our point that we have mentioned to make sure that social responsibility is followed among our employees and we provide them with a safe and healthy working environment. We saw this coming up during COVID, and one of the key reasons for the great resignation that is happening right now is that most of the time the many employees did not have a safe and healthy working environment. So we have to focus on creating that safe and healthy working environment and making sure that we can be a very socially responsible business. So do we have any questions from our audience? I hope everyone is aligned with me. Okay, I think everything's going great. Okay, thank you, Suana, for your response. Okay, so now let us move on to our next exercise. We'll read Anwar's thoughts about how he will consider the social responsibility of his business. So Anwar has thought of two ways that his business can do good and be socially responsible. To contribute to the local community, he would like to donate the leftover bread every day to a nearby orphanage, instead of selling it or throwing it away. He also wants to hire someone from a more vulnerable group in society where his business grows. Maybe a young person from a poor family or a refugee like himself without considering their gender, background, or religion. He will do the same thing when choosing his suppliers. Anwar also wants to treat his future employee well. He believes this can make his business more successful since the employee will do a better job if he or she is happy at work. He will make sure that the salary is higher than the minimum wage and the working hours are not too long. He will also give the new employee training in order to avoid injuries and accidents in the bakery and ensure a safe working environment. If he decides to employ a full-time worker, the person will get at least 1 day off every week and also days off for the important celebrations. He decides to read up on other obligations and responsibilities that he will have as an employer to ensure that he will treat his employees fairly. Okay, so this mainly had a lot of points that we spoke about earlier about being a socially responsible business. So let's see what point 3 has wants us to answer. So together, based on the text above, discuss the questions below and write down your answers on a separate group paper. So how is Anwa taking responsibility for the people in the community? So maybe somebody who had read through the whole paragraph could answer that. Okay, so let me get into that. Then, for the people of his community, you could say that he donates whatever the leftover bread his bakery produces to a nearby orphanage, and by that, he's committing to the and he's very socially responsible towards his community by providing that bread and making sure that there is no waste, and this in turn helps the environment as well. So we could say that Anwar is taking responsibility for the people in his community. And also when it comes to him hiring employees, He's also looking into people who are from the society's most vulnerable groups. That could be someone who is poor or a refugee, and he does not discriminate among the people he will choose to employ. It could be someone from a various other gender or from various another background or a religion. He will not, and even for his suppliers, he will not be considering those. So these are all points we could align and make sure that can show as Anwa is taking responsibility for the people in his community. So now let's move on to the second point. So how is Anwa taking responsibility for his future employees? So if somebody could read the paragraph and maybe give me an answer, it would be great. So let me give you all 30 seconds to read it and go through it. So the employees or his future employees that he's looking forward to work with, he will be responsible, and he has set out some rules for himself to make sure that he is responsible towards his future employees. So let's break it down a bit and see what and how will he be responsible for his future employees. So it is mentioned that he wants to treat his future employees well, and he believes that if his employees are treated well, they too will be doing a good job and making sure making sure that they will be doing a good job and they will be happy in place. So in order to keep his employees or his future employees happy rather, he will be focusing and trying to give them a salary that is higher than the minimum wage, and the working hours will not be too long. It will be in line with the rules and regulations set out by the respective region or country. And also, he will be providing adequate training to all his employees to make sure that it's a safe and a healthy working environment for them without any injuries or any other various accidents that could occur. Also, he's looking at employing a full-time worker. And if he does employ a full-time worker, in order to make sure that the employee's mental state is on a good positive note, he will at least give 1 day off every week. And this could be also aligned with the rules and the working hours respectively. And all days off for important celebrations that the whole community will be having and celebrating in. And he also would like to read up on other obligations and responsibilities that he will have as an employer and to make sure that he treats his employees fairly. So he has broken it down and he has thought of various plans, and he is also currently looking at the obligations and responsibilities that he will have as an employer to ensure that his employees are treated fairly. So it is essential that you plan out how you will treat your future employees as a responsible entrepreneur or a responsible business as well. And this could in turn make your business a very successful one. Just as Anwar has mentioned, your employees too will be working hard towards making your business extremely successful. Okay, so do we have any questions, or can we move on to the next exercise? I think we are also running a bit short on time, so I will be running through this exercise a bit quickly. So exercise 3, environmental responsibilities. As an entrepreneur, you have the responsibility to protect the environment. And now let us discuss how you can protect the environment. So let's read the clouds that we have here. Minimizing use of electricity. This is aligned with Sustainable Development Goal number 7. And minimizing waste and recycling, and avoid using products that harm the environment. Buy materials from suppliers using environmentally friendly practices. So these are all key ways that you could make sure that your company or your business as an entrepreneur is environmentally responsible. Minimizing the use of electricity is key in making sure that your carbon footprint reduces, because in many countries in the world right now, we are burning fossil fuels to make sure that electricity is provided. Or even we could, instead of minimizing the use of electricity, maybe we could switch to a renewable energy source such as solar power, which could be easily used in the Asia Pacific region, or even wind power. But I think solar is more practically enabled in a country, a region like ours, and it could be easily installed overall. Minimizing waste is another key responsibility towards from the business towards the environment. So we could go back to maybe Anwar's story in where he had mentioned that whatever the leftover bread he has, he donates it to an orphanage and he does not throw it away. So even though bread could be a product that could be maybe deteriorating quickly, rather fast than other products like plastic and so on, he still makes sure that he minimizes waste and he gets the maximum out of the resources while doing and while being socially responsible as well. So recycling could be another great responsibility from a business towards an environment. So that could be, yes, so that could be mainly aligned with maybe recycling the products that you use or even using recycled products. Also, we could remember the 4R system if you go into that. The 4R stand for recycling, reducing, reusing, and replacing. If we break it down, reducing could be reducing the waste that you produce, or even reducing the materials or non-deteriorating materials that you use in a business. Replacing could be aligned with replacing old and outdated technology, which uses a lot of electricity and resources rather than other technologies. So these could be mainly aligned with a business and becoming an environmentally responsible business. Avoiding using products that harm the environment. So this could be aligned with plastics. So very recently also, I saw that this was in Shark Tank. If you have heard it, it's a TV show where entrepreneurs come and pitch various business ideas or products that they have. They had one person came up on Shark Tank and he pitched a great solution that I thought could be aligned with this point right here: avoid using products that harm the environment. What his product was, he had promoted and he was pitching various utensils like spoons, forks, the plastic ones that we use right now. Even if you have an ice cream with a spoon, it's mainly a plastic spoon if you have it in a cup rather than a cone. And even if you have some, let's say, noodles or something like that, you use a plastic fork most of the time if you get it from takeout. So he had promoted a fork and a spoon that is edible, that is made with a certain flavor that you could use, and it will not be damaging or harming the environment. Instead, you could simply eat that spoon. So it was a great idea that I thought that could be aligned with this point, and it in fact gives us food as it can be used as food as well in the end. So I think that was a great innovation that I remembered when I thought of reading this point. So moving on, buying materials from suppliers using environmentally friendly practices. So you could mainly maybe check on how environmentally friendly a business is through ESG ratings, which is environmental and social and governance ratings, or even you could see how their resources or what they use to build their products and decide on what type of materials that they use and decide on whether the supply that you are purchasing uses environmentally friendly practices in producing whatever their product or service that they produce. So by reading those points, let's move on to the next question that we have. Okay, so this is on Sarah this time, not Anwar. So Zara knows that making clothes and fabric can cause a lot of damage to the environment and uses up a lot of water. She has come up with a list of things she can do to run her business in an eco-friendly way. In other words, environmentally responsible. writing things down on a computer instead of on paper, recycling fabric by using the small leftover pieces to make decorations, setting a maximum amount of water to use every week, reusing the same water to wash the fabric, using washing and dyeing products that are not toxic for the environment, ensuring the wastewater is properly disposed, avoiding using plastic bags when shipping dresses to customers. Okay, so now let us look at the questions that they have mentioned and see how we can answer them. Can you think of other things Sarah could do to be more eco-friendly? What will be the hardest thing to do and the easiest? So maybe I'll open up the forum for you all to decide and share with any points that you all have. And in the meantime, I will maybe decide on some facts as well. So looking at Sarah's points that she has mentioned, the hardest thing to do would be to ensure that the wastewater is properly disposed, because wastewater disposable and clean wastewater disposal systems do take a lot of capital to build or even to purchase. So I think that would be the hardest thing to do. And when thinking of the easiest thing to do, you could maybe look at the first point, and overall society is moving towards that, using more computers and using computers to type in things and save things instead of paper. So that is one of the easiest I could mention. So it would be great if I could get some points from the audience as well. So anybody who wants to share? I will give you all a few seconds. Okay, I think everybody is feeling a bit shy. That's totally understandable. So if you want to share through the chat box, you're free to use the chat option as well. So let's move on to the next point up till now. So what could Anwa do to make his bakery business, eco-friendly? So let's move on to that question if you cannot remember it. So he has mentioned various points over here, but he has not mentioned how his production will go through. So thinking in the practical sense of a bakery, he too could get his electricity usage through renewable resources that will make sure that he does not burn fossil fuels in order to make bread. And yes, that would be one of the key points, using renewable resources as his main energy source, and also buying supplies from people who plant wheat flour sustainably, rather than without buying or getting his supplies from a person who supplies wheat or wheat flour rather from an unsustainable source, such as from a farm where you have to cut down trees and where you have to burn down the farm before replanting and so on. So these could be some of the main points that could be taken from Anwa's business. So if you all also have any other points, you could maybe drop it in the chat or speak up regarding that, or how we could make Anwa's business more environmentally sustainable. Let's get back on track. Yes, so I think what will be the hardest thing to do and the easiest? This is in line once again with Anwa's bakery business. Yes, one more thing I could add is, I got it through a private message, that when it comes through eco-friendly social responsibility, the wastage issue could be resolved by once again donating the bread to an orphanage instead of selling it. And let's think about what will be the hardest and what will be the easiest thing to take over from being a environmentally responsible or sustainable business from Anwa's bakery business. So Anwa's big businesses, I think the hardest once again would be to align his energy source to a solar or a much renewable source, because that in fact takes a lot of capital and as well as a lot of time and resources to switch quickly into a renewable source. And the easiest would be what he has currently mentioned and what he would like to do in donating the leftover bread to a nearby orphanage to make sure that he minimizes waste. And instead of throwing it away, he is doing a responsibility. He's being a responsible entrepreneur and a business and doing a benefit both to the society and to the environment at once. So with that, we have come to the end of the session for today. So if you have any questions or any queries, you could ask them right now here, or you could use the chat option and ask me any questions regarding how a business can be sustainable and how they can be sustainable and responsible towards the environment and towards society, and especially towards their employees. And I would like to remind you that this is powered by International Labour Organization, or ILO. Okay, if we do not have many questions, we could start moving to the main plenary, where we will be having a short break next, according to the agenda. Yes, CC, I think we can end this breakout room. Yes, Dishani, we will be sharing this PDF with you. Okay, I think we can move back to the main plenary. All of you all can join to the main plenary. Thank you for staying in this session, and I hope you learned a lot. So thank you once again for being in this session. If you do have any concerns, please reach out to me through the chat box.
Regularly maintain data server, as well as guess how many data servers do you actually need. So a lot of businesses out there, they can't really build their own data servers, and they can't really maintain so many data servers at their companies as well. So that's why the importance of cloud. So the analogy of the water well is now replaced with a water tap, whereby you don't need to guess how many capacity, how many people are using the water anymore. You can just turn on the tap and turn it off when you don't use it, right? So it's not very expensive to have a water tap at your house as well. And you also don't really need to regularly maintain the water tap. So it's the same for the cloud as well. It's not that expensive to go onto the cloud, because you don't have to guess how many people will be utilizing your services. So when there is like 1 million people onto your website, you can just let it auto scale to serve 1 million people. And when there's maybe only about 50 people on your website, and then it will scale back down to serve about 50 people. So that's the power of the cloud. And cloud has actually accelerated across this quite a few, like 10 over years for now, cloud migration. So a lot of companies are actually investing their future in the cloud. One example would be like Disney, right? So Disney, I believe a lot of you actually know what Disney is. It's the movie maker, animation maker, with tons and tons of movies and series under their company. So with so much content, they actually have to store a lot of the content on the cloud. And how AWS actually helps Disney is that using machine learning and deep learning tools, they can actually easily identify the different characters. So it makes archiving process much more efficient. So for example, today, if a new writer or a new animator join the company, they can actually type like, oh, find me all the Mickey Mouses that are crying. And, you know, with just a click of a few buttons, they will actually generate all the different characters, as well as tag it based on their emotions, their characters, their dressings, and their facial expressions. Right. So why are organizations like Disney moving to the cloud? It's because of the faster go-to-market, because there isn't so much needs of like logistics, no need for like data centers, data servers, and also cloud is actually quite secure. And it allows for instantaneous rollouts of application workloads globally. So meaning, even if you are a company in Singapore and you want to serve like a customer in maybe US, you can actually deploy like Amazon CloudFront. So you allow the content to be delivered to them much more quicker. And then There is also enhanced customer experience and no capital expenditure because you don't have to build your own data servers. So there is no hidden cost, and also cloud is on a pay-as-you-go sort of model. Right. So previously I talked about machine learning and deep learning, but beyond that, actually in Amazon Web Services, there is many other different services. So it all starts from infrastructure, whereby you like your data centers. So at Amazon, we have different regions serving different countries. And then we talk about core services, which is like your normal compute, your storage, your databases. Then it goes all the way up to like your IoT services, your machine learning services, your analytics services. So as you can see, cloud is quite like a widespread of breadth and of different services. So this is just a map to show you our global infrastructure. This is, I think, a slide from last year, so it must have updated this year. So as you can see, we are spread out across globally, having different regions, and within each region, we have multiple availability zones to ensure that all the data stored will not go down, right? So if one like data center is maybe unavailable at the moment, and your data will be stored in the other availability zones. So that's like many different availability zones within a region, and there is many different regions across the world. So I have talked a lot about how, you know, there is a lot of potential in the cloud, a lot of organizations are migrating to the cloud. So why am I here today is to really share with you out there that there is a lot of opportunities in the cloud, not really for you to build on the cloud, but also for you to look for career opportunities within cloud related industries, right? Because as all these customers migrate onto the cloud, a lot of them actually report that there is an IT skills gap in particular to cloud, because a lot of people are familiar with like Python, probably like Java, CSS, but not a lot of people are exposed to the cloud yet. Like a lot of people wouldn't have even heard about what is the cloud. Right, so there is a lot of reports stating, for example, 54% of IT decision makers being unable to fill job positions related to the cloud. So there's this quote here that says, when it comes to cloud adoption, the biggest challenge isn't technology. Why? Because there's actually a lot of cloud providers already there in the market to serve the needs, but it's the people and the processes that must upskill, change, and adapt. It's the people that most of these companies are actually lacking, who are skilled in terms of cloud. Right, so a lot of organizations are actually rethinking their business and hiring needs, as well as redefining who and how they should hire. And a lot of individuals, actually, they need to develop the skills that employers value the most, which is cloud-related skills. So Amazon, I think probably last year, we came up with like a pledge to help 29 million people around the world grow their tech skills with free cloud computing skills training by 2025. So it's a global mission by Amazon. Right, so this is a little bit dry, but it just talks about like the top 10 digital skills that is required, you know, across by 2025. How many skills must you gain? What type of skills must you gain? But I just want to focus more on this, because it shows you straight from the start that 86 more million people in Australia, India, Indonesia, Japan, New Zealand, and Singapore, South Korea, etc., will actually need to go through digital skills training. And in the fact that you are already here, I think you are like one of the 86 million people, and that's very good because more and more people, you know, are digitally skilled. And also, we had this research report to show that the top 5 skills, 3 out of the top 5 skills is actually cloud related. So if I zoom in further, you can see that the top 5 in-demand digital skills by 2025 is actually number 1, use of cloud-based tools, number 2, cybersecurity, number 3, technical IT support, number 4, digital marketing, number 5, cloud migration. So the other breakout session is having like a session on digital marketing, which is also equally quite important. So the top 3 skills out of the top 5 skills is also cloud related. So it's really very important. So I have talked a lot about the demand for the cloud skills, right? So let's take a look at the amount of careers available within ASEAN. So AWS certifications is one of the top 5 highest paying certifications. There are also many other cloud certifications provided by other cloud providers. But the good thing to note is that, all these kind of certifications will really help you. So if you have it, then that is good. If you don't have it, you can possibly consider how you can start learning all these different skills. So the next the point actually talks about the number of job postings requiring cloud computing skills. So there's about 250,000 jobs available in ASEAN related to cloud computing, right? So how AWS comes in is that we provide different programs targeted at the depth skill as well as the breadth skill. So there is very, very technical skills like solutions architecting, developing, system operations, machine learnings, and we also have the breadth skills, for example, innovation badges, innovation programs. We also have project management, program management programs for key decision makers. Right, so this is our motto, and we are really trying to create a more inclusive industry that prepares learners of all backgrounds to become the leaders of tomorrow. So where my team fits in is actually we are the education to workforce piece. We are the team supporting that. So we do that through 3 different phases: skilling, practice, and employment. And through skilling, we have programs like Aws Educate, which is a self-paced learning portal, Aws Academy, which is usually used by institutions. So some of your schools may have already been on Academy and they are deploying AWS into their curriculum. And then for practice, we have events like hackathons, gym days, and jams. And for employment, we connect these skilled learners to our AWS customers and partners who are readily hiring all of them through our virtual career fairs. So Aws Educate is really a self-paced learning portal. I've pasted the QR code in this slide. So if you want to sign up, feel free to do so. It's completely free of charge. So actually all the things that my team does is completely free for learners. Yeah, so in the Aws Educate portal, it's really more for your self-paced learning. As young as 13 years old, they can actually sign up and access all the resources. So I just want to share my screen for the Aws Educate portal. So this is how it looks like within the portal. As you can see, there is actually many different courses available for you to learn. Like for example, how to start building your storage, what's the introduction to AWS Management Console, introduction to cloud, introduction to IoT, robotic, etc. So all this for free for you to learn at your own time and own pace, right? So we also connect you to the job board. So on your job board, you are able to find like many different positions beyond the virtual career fairs. So this slide just talks about how students have actually utilized AWS to make a difference in someone's life. So we have partnered with like Girls Brigade Singapore and taught them like Amazon Alexa skills. So Alexa is like our voice activated virtual assistant. So like if you say, hey Alexa, can you can you set a timer for 15 seconds? Can you turn on the lights? So it's more of like the IoT concept linked to like machine learning, right? So they have actually developed that to help those people in need to switch on the lights instead of them walking to the switches. So now I'll move on to the Aws Academy Program. So the Aws Academy Program, learners like yourself can't sign up from the portal itself, but it's available in most of the tertiary education and institutions out there. Most of your schools should already be onboarded onto Academy. So Academy is really like a more structured curriculum matched back to the school's curriculum. For example, a 2-year bachelor degree or a 4-year bachelor degree. Some of them would have elements of cloud computing, business analytics, etc. So this is how we work with schools. Then on this slide, it just shows you the 12 AWS certifications in the market right now. As I mentioned previously, AWS certification is the top 5 highest paying certifications, right? So out of these 12 AWS certifications on the Academy platform, we have actually 4 AWS Academy courses that ties back to the 4 AWS certifications. So for example, Cloud Practitioner certification, we have the AWS Academy Cloud Foundations course. We also have Academy Cloud Architect in Developing Operations for the different associate certifications. So all these are actually available on your schools, in your schools. So if let's say your schools is still not awarded, you can actually get maybe like your dean or your teacher to apply for AWS Academy so that you can utilize this as well. So all these are completely free of charge for the whole education system. So this slide just talks about how, you know, the course prepares you for the certification. So in these slides, it just talks about the amount of companies that are actually helping the different organizations or like startups or SMEs out there. So they are actually our AWS migration competency partners. For example, Accenture, for example, NTT Data, for example, LG. So all these companies will actually